Hi, I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach, and this is the Organize Your Life podcast. I am passionate about organizing because it makes my clients' lives so much easier, more relaxed, and with more time to spend the way they want to. In every podcast in the show, I'll lay out a simple organizing concept, and I'll tell you why it's important. I'll also include an action step at the end so you can start practicing right away. My specialty is chunking down this big topic so it's not overwhelming. That's the concept for this podcast, which is based on my first book, 52 Simple Ways to Get Organized. The book is available on my website and on Amazon. I work with clients in person in the Berkeley, California area and via email and Skype, so you don't have to be local to me. Visit the Hire tab on my website or email me at claire@cluttercoach.net. If you like the show, please rate it and review it. To do that, go to my website, cluttercoach.net, and scroll down for the show notes. Each show notes post has a link to leave a review in iTunes. I would so appreciate that. Okay, on to the podcast. This is podcast 86, and it's about design thinking. I got reintroduced to this concept by Chris Wilson, the founder of Unstuck School, at a workshop that he gave recently. He leads a program called Design Your Year that uses many creative ways to define and achieve your goals, one of which is not calling them goals. I just talked about that problem in podcast 84, about how scary and intimidating goals can be. One concept he shared with us that I found really interesting is design thinking. Current design thinking is based on stages defined by Herbert Simon. I quoted Simon unknowingly back in podcast 45 when I talked about the idea of satisficing. To satisfice, satisficing is a portmanteau of the words satisfy and suffice. It means that people make decisions based on information and resources they have available, and that is good enough. They can't have all the information and all the resources, or use them properly if they did, so they do without. Satisficers are good at limiting their options in order to make effective, timely decisions and take action. Okay, back to design thinking. The 5 stages Simon identified are empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Although they're called stages, they don't always happen in order, and they sometimes loop around. Each stage informs the others. The first stage, empathize, is certainly important when I work with clients. To me, it means I need to get to know what my client values and desires, and suggest courses of action based on that. This is the opposite of coming in with a prescribed method and imposing it. Instead of jamming a square peg into a round hole, you discover the shape of the peg, which might not be square or round, and then carve a hole that fits it. It also means I strive not to make assumptions about my client's situation, but, as coaches are trained to do, come from a position of curiosity and discovery. That way my client is free to describe what's happening without having to define or rationalize it. But what I want to talk about is how to empathize with yourself. Often people want to get organized or declutter or be more productive because they see a lack in themselves, or they feel judged by others. While those feelings may motivate you for a bit, they really aren't great in the long run. They involve looking outside yourself for solutions, and that is never going to get you the right solution. In the design world, if you're creating a product, for example, you want to approach the issue by finding out what motivates and engages customers, instead of developing a product by guesswork and just hoping that people want it. Empathy is a great word to use here. When you empathize with yourself, you get out of yourself a bit to observe with compassion. This helps you understand and explain what you feel to someone else. Feeling what you feel is important, but you need to be able to get some objectivity about those feelings in order to express them in a way that someone else can understand. When you empathize with someone else, you try to put yourself in their shoes and experience the world as they do. You see that they have experiences and feelings that are similar to yours, even if you're very different people. Feelings of similarity cause you to want to protect or help them. With self-empathy, you want to help yourself because you have compassion for the situation you're in. The exploration you've done leads to the next stage, which is define. You might define the problem as, I need a better system for managing paper so that I get things done on time and I don't waste time looking for stuff that I need. That is much different than, I need to organize this desk because it's a cluttered mess. I always say organizing is a means to an end, not a valuable thing in itself. That end is the thing that you define yourself. It's too soon to start uploading apps or embracing techniques or buying containers. People often want to leap into the solution before they clearly define the problem, and that makes the process longer and more confusing. For the above-mentioned scenario, you want to explore further what's happening. Ask, what is all this paper? Where does it come from? Is this a new problem? Is something making it worse? All that information will help with stage 3, ideate. I'll talk about the other 3 stages next week. In the meantime, what you can do right now is practice empathizing with your own particular situation and see it as an issue to be resolved to benefit you, not to satisfy others. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach. If you like the show, I'd love it if you'd leave a rating and review in iTunes. You can subscribe, too, so the podcast will be ready and waiting for you to listen to. You'll find the show notes on my blog at www.cluttercoach.net, and you can check out my store to find books I've written and a whole bunch of other stuff. If you're a fan of the show, you can become a patron on patreon.com for as little as $1 a month. You can find my page by going to the Patreon website, that's Patreon, and searching on Clutter Coach. I'll still post the podcast free of charge, but I've got some cool rewards for folks who want to help me make the show even better. Come back next week for a new podcast.